What would you do if your own sister stormed into your wedding in a white dress, holding your groom's hand, and declared that he chose her instead? Would you crumble in humiliation or rise as a queen? This is Letters to Ray, where every story reveals betrayal, heartbreak, and the fight for justice. Before we dive into this jaw-dropping tale, make sure you hit subscribe right now because the next letter might just leave you speechless. The church bells echoed, solemn and steady, their toll vibrating through the polished marble floor beneath my heels. I clutched the bouquet tighter, trying to still the trembling in my hands. The scent of roses floated through the air, mingling with candle wax and perfume, while guests craned their necks for their first glimpse of me, the bride. My father's hand rested firmly on mine, steady and reassuring, but my heartbeat thundered in my ears, drowning out the quartet's strings. This was supposed to be my moment. The music swelled as the grand doors creaked open. Sunlight poured in, painting the aisle in gold. For 1 second, the room seemed to hold its breath, and then chaos. She stood there. My sister, Danielle. Dressed in a flowing white gown almost identical to mine, her lips curled into a triumphant smirk. And beside her, my groom, Alex, his head lowered, face unreadable. The entire church erupted in gasps and whispers, shock rippling like fire across dry grass. My legs nearly buckled beneath me. Surprise, sister, Danielle's voice rang out, sugary sweet and sharp as a dagger. She raised her left hand high, flashing a diamond ring. Looks like you're a little late. He's mine now. The room tilted. Guests clutched their pearls, some rising from their seats, others hissing with disbelief. My mother covered her mouth, eyes wide with horror. I tried to breathe, but the air turned to glass in my lungs. Alex wouldn't meet my gaze. He just stood there, silent, tethered to Danielle's hand like a puppet. For a moment, I couldn't move. Memories of our childhood flickered through my mind like cruel snapshots, her laughing as she humiliated me at parties, her smirk when she stole my crush in high school, the endless comparisons where I was always the shadow, never the star. Was this the final act in her lifelong competition? I took a step forward, the hem of my gown brushing the marble. My bridesmaids whispered frantically behind me. One of them muttered, "Oh my God, what is happening?" The crowd stirred louder, whispers like a storm. Is this a joke? Who's the real bride? Danielle tilted her head, basking in the attention. Did you really think he wanted you? Poor thing. Always second best. Her words sliced through me, cruel and deliberate. But I didn't crumble. Not yet. My chest burned, but my voice came steady, calm, laced with something even I didn't recognize. I met her eyes, her smug little smirk, and I whispered just loud enough for her to hear. Look behind you. The music halted. The whispers fell to silence. Danielle's smirk faltered for the briefest moment, and in that breath, I knew the game had only just begun. And in that instant, as my world threatened to collapse around me, something inside me hardened. This wasn't the end. It was only the beginning. The church, once filled with music and joy, now trembled with chaos. Guests shifted in their seats, their eyes darting between me and Danielle, as if unsure which bride belonged to the moment. Some whispered prayers under their breath, while others leaned forward eagerly, hungry for scandal. Alex finally raised his head. His eyes flickered across the room, then settled on me. For a heartbeat, I thought I saw regret, but it vanished quickly, replaced by something cold, something rehearsed. He cleared his throat. I'm sorry, he said softly, but loud enough for all to hear. I love Danielle. The words echoed, ricocheting off the church walls, burrowing into my chest like barbed wire. Gasps rippled through the pews. My knees weakened, but I locked them in place. I would not collapse, not in front of them, not in front of her. Danielle's smirk widened, and she leaned her head against his shoulder as if sealing her victory. See, she cooed. He chose me. He always wanted me. I looked at them both, and then, slowly, I began to laugh. A quiet, bitter laugh that startled even me. The crowd fell silent, unsure whether I had broken completely or was about to snap. I steadied myself, raised my chin, and let my eyes sweep across every shocked face in the room. Funny, I said, voice sharp and clear. Because last night, Alex was still in my bed. The silence shattered. Gasps, shouts, even a cry from one of Alex's groomsmen filled the church. Danielle stiffened, her grip on his arm tightening like a vice. Alex's face drained of color. His lips parted, but no sound came out. I took a step closer, my gown whispering across the marble. You wanted a spectacle, Danielle? Well, here it is. The truth. He might stand beside you now, but don't forget where he was hours ago. My words rippled like thunder, and for the first time, Danielle's confidence cracked. Her smile faltered, her eyes starting nervously to Alex. The church erupted again, whispers spreading like wildfire, some pitying me, others delighting in the scandal. But beneath it all, something darker stirred in me. This wasn't just betrayal, it was war. And I wasn't going to fight fair. I met Danielle's eyes once more, letting my voice drop low, dangerous, intimate. Enjoy your moment, sister. Because when the lights go out, when the crowd goes home, you'll realize this was the worst mistake of your life. Her jaw tightened, but she forced a laugh, pulling Alex closer. Desperate lies, she spat, though her voice wavered. I turned away, bouquet slipping from my grasp, petals scattering across the aisle like ashes. The guests watched in stunned silence as I walked slowly down the aisle, not to the altar, not to Alex, but past them both. And as I reached the church doors, I felt the weight of every eye on me, felt the fire rising inside. My sister thought she'd stolen everything. What she didn't know was that I was already planning how to take it all back. They had the church, the crowd, the humiliation. But I had something far more dangerous: patience. And when I struck back, they never saw it coming. The heavy oak doors of the church shut behind me, muffling the whispers, but I didn't leave. My trembling hands clutched the edge of the frame as I fought for breath. My gown dragged like a shroud, but inside me, something had shifted. I wasn't leaving. I was staging my return. I turned back. Gasps rose again as I walked steadily down the aisle, this time with fire in my eyes. Danielle blinked, confused, as if she couldn't decide whether to mock me again or shrink away. Alex stepped forward, raising a hand half-heartedly. Please, he muttered, but it was too late. I stopped in the center, directly between them and the watching crowd. Then, slowly, I lifted the small remote hidden inside my clutch. A hush fell. Every eye turned toward the white curtain draped across the altar wall. With a click, the curtain parted, and a projector hummed to life. The screen flickered, then sharpened, revealing the first message. Danielle, he'll never know you're just a pawn. We'll drain her dry, and then he'll be mine. The church gasped as Danielle's own words glowed in the darkened space. My heart hammered, but I pressed on. Alex, don't worry. She's too naive to suspect a thing. Keep her distracted until the account clears. The groomsmen shouted, the bridesmaids covered their mouths, and an old auntie in the front row actually fainted. My mother rose from her seat, hands trembling, tears spilling down her cheeks. Danielle's face turned crimson. Those are fake, she screamed, her voice cracking. She made them up. She's always been jealous of me. But her protests drowned under the avalanche of evidence. Bank transfers. Secret photos. Late-night texts. Every secret laid bare, framed on the screen like a courtroom exhibit. I turned to the crowd, my voice steady now. This was never love. It was theft. Every smile, every touch, it was all designed to strip me of everything I built. But today, I stripped them instead. The church erupted: shouts, anger, disgust. Danielle spun in panic, eyes darting to Alex for support. He stood frozen, jaw tight, staring at the floor. Say something, she hissed, shaking his arm. But he didn't move. Didn't speak. Didn't even look at her. Her rage snapped. She shoved me, sending me stumbling back a step, then shrieked, "You've ruined me. You, worthless little shadow." Her voice rang shrill, echoing against the stained glass windows. I steadied myself, the crowd watching in stunned silence. Then I smiled, not sweetly, not gently, but with the calm of someone who already knew the ending. Because this wasn't the climax. This was only the beginning. Danielle clung to Alex again, her nails digging into his sleeve, her eyes wild. "None of this matters," she cried desperately. "He chose me. He'll always choose me." The church fell into silence, every guest waiting, holding their breath. And then, for the first time that day, Alex finally lifted his head. His silence had been unbearable, but his first words were worse. Because when Alex finally spoke, it wasn't to defend her, it was to destroy her. The silence was unbearable. Every breath, every shifting seat, every muffled cough seemed to echo louder than the church bells outside. And then, finally, Alex raised his head. His voice was quiet, almost fragile at first. "You really think I'd choose you?" Danielle's manic grip tightened around his arm. "Of course you did," she snapped, her laugh hollow. "You told me you loved me. You promised we'd take everything from her and run away. You said—" "I said what you wanted to hear," Alex cut in sharply, his tone gaining weight. He pulled his arm free, leaving Danielle clutching air. His eyes locked onto mine for the first time since the disaster began. "I said it because we had to let you dig your own grave." Gasps rippled through the crowd like a wave crashing against the pews. My heart pounded in my chest, but not with shock, I knew. I had always known. Danielle's mouth dropped open. "What?" Alex took a step forward, his voice steadier now, carrying through the vaulted space. "Did you really think I'd betray her? Did you think I'd stand at this altar and make vows to someone like you? Every message, every late-night meeting, every whisper, it was a setup. We wanted everyone to see you for who you really are." The projector still glowed behind him, a monument to her crimes. Danielle shook her head furiously, her curls whipping across her face. No, this isn't possible. You played me?" "Yes," Alex said coldly. "And you made it easy. You never hid your greed, your malice. You thought you were clever, but you were sloppy." And now, he gestured to the stunned congregation. "Now they all know." The murmurs rose into shouts. Old friends who had once adored Danielle turned away, whispering words like shameful and disgrace. My mother stepped forward, her face pale, but her voice strong. "Melissa," she said, using Danielle's full name like a whip, "what have you done?" Danielle's eyes darted wildly, searching for an ally. But there were none. The bridesmaids she once sneered at now crossed their arms. The groomsmen shook their heads in disgust. Even our father, silent, stoic, buried his face in his hands. "This isn't over." Danielle shrieked, her voice breaking as she stumbled backward. "You'll regret this, both of you. I'll make sure you pay." But her words rang hollow in the great hall. The crowd no longer feared her, they pitied her. I stepped forward, my gown whispering against the marble floor. For the first time that day, my voice was calm, steady, unshaken. "You took my kindness for weakness. You mistook silence for surrender. But look around you, Danielle. You've already lost." Her chest heaved as she glared at me, her face twisted with rage. "No," she spat, "I will never lose to you." But even as she said it, her voice wavered. She knew. The truth hung heavy in the air. She was finished. Alex returned to my side, his hand finding mine, steady and sure. His eyes were soft now, but his words to her were as sharp as glass. "You wanted to destroy her. Instead, you destroyed yourself." Danielle let out one final, guttural scream before turning and bolting down the aisle, her heels clattering against the stone floor. The doors slammed shut behind her, echoing like a closing chapter. And in that moment, the church felt different, lighter, freer, as though a storm had passed. But deep inside me, I knew this wasn't the end. Because people like Danielle don't vanish quietly. She was gone from the church, but not from my life. And as the guests began to murmur their relief, I couldn't shake the feeling that somewhere beyond those doors, my sister was already plotting her return. The church doors still echoed from Danielle's dramatic exit, but the silence that followed wasn't peaceful. It was uneasy, fragile, like the pause before thunder breaks again. Guests exchanged nervous looks, their whispers low and uncertain. I stood frozen at the altar, my hands trembling in Alex's grasp. My heart screamed questions. Was it really over? Was she gone for good? Or was this just another one of her games? Alex leaned closer, his voice warm against the cold storm that had passed. She can't hurt us anymore. Not here. His hand squeezed mine, grounding me. His eyes carried none of the hesitation that haunted me, only certainty. But as I turned to face the crowd, my chest tightened. Rows of familiar faces stared back. Neighbors, family, friends, colleagues. Their eyes weren't just on me, they were waiting, holding their breath, unsure if this day was cursed or blessed. Then my mother rose from her pew. Slowly, deliberately, she walked toward me. Her heels clicked against the marble, each step echoing with judgment. For a moment, I feared her fury would fall on me too. But when she reached me, her voice cracked, not with anger, but with sorrow. "Melissa," she said, loud enough for the guests to hear though her daughter was already gone. "You are no daughter of mine today." Gasps scattered through the crowd like wind. My chest tightened, hearing those words spoken aloud. Danielle had wanted love, recognition, validation. And in one swift sentence, my mother severed her completely. Tears pricked my eyes, but I held them back. This wasn't my grief to carry anymore. This was Danielle's burden, the weight of her own betrayal. Alex guided me gently, turning me back toward the altar. The priest, though shaken, cleared his throat, trying to restore dignity to a day nearly destroyed. "Shall we continue?" he asked softly. A hush fell over the hall. My knees nearly buckled, but Alex steadied me. Together, we nodded. The vows came like a balm. Each word I spoke felt like stitching over an open wound, mending the torn fabric of my heart. Alex's voice, steady and unwavering, was the anchor I clung to. His eyes didn't leave mine, not even once. When the priest pronounced us husband and wife, the applause thundered, not just polite clapping, but a roar of relief, of solidarity. The storm had broken, and light was spilling through. We turned, hand in hand, to walk back down the aisle. Guests stood, their faces transformed from fear into joy. Some wept openly, others cheered. The organ swelled with triumphant music, drowning out the memory of Danielle's shrieks. But even as I smiled, even as Alex leaned to whisper, "We made it," I felt the truth twisting inside me. This wasn't the end. It couldn't be. Outside those doors, somewhere in the shadows of the city, Danielle was nursing her rage. She had been humiliated, stripped bare in front of everyone she sought to impress. And I knew my sister well enough to understand, she would not accept defeat quietly. As confetti rained and cameras flashed, my smile never faltered. I laughed, I kissed, I played the role of the radiant bride. But inside, my heart whispered a vow no priest had asked me to speak. If she returns, I'll be ready. This time, I won't just defend what's mine. I'll end her games once and for all. And as Alex lifted my hand to kiss it, the crowd erupting around us, I felt the weight of both love and war pressing into my soul. Danielle thought she had shattered me, but she hadn't realized. She had forged me instead. Stronger, sharper, untouchable. The world might remember this as the day I became a wife. But for me, it was the day I became something far more dangerous. The day I became unstoppable. She left the church in disgrace, but I knew it was only a matter of time before she returned. And when she did, the battle wouldn't be for a wedding. It would be for everything.